Yeah, you don't need to hear me on the. You just read my sign language and then take it from there. Welcome, Windrider. This is a big one. Just everything that's going on in the Appalachian scene. Your album seems to be doing well. How's it going so far?
It's been awesome so far. We have just been kind of riding the wave of, releasing the album maybe 3 weeks ago at this point. And we immediately hopped on some shows. We've been on the road. We just got back a few days ago, and we have some more coming up. It's been excellent, really.
I should have everybody introduce yourselves so that everybody knows who you are.
Robbie.
And do you play?
Guitar.
Hey, Robbie on guitar.
I'm Chloe. I do the vocals for Wybdrider.
Josh, drums.
I'm also Josh, but they call me Garth, and I play bass.
Garth, the bass player. By the way, I'm a bass player too. Next to Chloe's voice, I think your bass is what really draws me into your group. And it has ever since, I think the first time I heard you was on Trip to Tennessee by Weedian. Which, by the way, I gotta admit, usually I play the band obsessively, but I decided to check out Trip to Tennessee. God damn, it's like my favorite place in the world for music is Tennessee. I mean, you have Howling Giant, which is like the progressive stuff. You have my buddy Cody and Dope Scum, respect. You have Slow Attack, who I dearly love. I mean, the list just goes on and on and on for Appalachia and Tennessee. And I got to be honest, I think you might be one of the best representatives of what I'm starting to think of as the Appalachian sound.
Thank you. That seriously means a lot to us. I always like to tell people there is a wealth of talent, especially in our area of the mountains, like the Eastern Tennessee, Eastern Kentucky group of bands that we often associate with. It's phenomenal. There's just so much good stuff going on here. And, Doom spans internationally, but the whole idea of incorporating the blues and the Southern rock feel with the stoner doom at the same time, it's inherently something that's very, very strong in our area for sure.
There's a lot about your music, and by the way, the new album's called Revival. If you don't have it, folks, we'll have the link down below. I think it is one of the absolute must listens of the year. It comes across like the typical occult doom with the female singer, right? And so I'm listening to it. You have this great opening riff on, what is it, Forked Tongue Revival. And I pick up a little bit of, the Wind Hand All Hails vibe. And then it does this turn of just nasty Appalachian. And it just comes across to me like you're angry, like you're fighting against the culture that you love. And it's just song after song is just this scathing, biting attack of metaphor against people who are supposed to love and nurture you and did the opposite. Am I anywhere near right on that?
I think that's an incredibly good read.
Yeah, you said it better than we could describe it, probably.
Yeah. The idea of Revival, obviously it's our second album, so the idea of it being a continuation of what we try to do, mixed with honing in on, again, that Appalachian, the idea of place where we're from, the kind of background you were talking about being scorned by the super religious aspect of living in this area. There's a lot that goes into it location-wise and culture-wise about just the kind of lives we lead, and then what you can hear coming out of the songs.
Well, it's pretty brutal. On Gallows Hill, coming in for the kill. Is he listening today? It's like, you're not telling us who you're mad at, and you're very good at that. You're very good at hiding. It's like you're not going to come all the way and dock someone. But was there anybody specific in Forked Tongue Revival or any aspect that, because there's a little bit of venom here, and I love your chorus. Oh, I can tell you more. So I'm going to hold you to it. I need you to tell me more.
I hate to be a liar, but I think I do like to leave a lot of that open to individual interpretation. At the end of the day, one of the things that I like to write about is the weight that religion poses on kind of Appalachian culture. I was raised in a pretty non-religious family, but then on the opposite end of the spectrum, some of us weren't, and it was quite rigid and quite scary and restrictive. And I think a lot of that song actually it's questioning God in its own way. But I like to let people just kind of sit and think about it for themselves.
Robbie, your guitar work seems to really, for lack of a, it's like a joke, but really seems to amplify the anger. And you're really good at getting that really intense peak with that oversaturated tube sound. And then you back the fuck off with this almost banjo, almost bluegrass type element. How much of that is deliberate, or are you just like following along with the song?
That it's deliberate, but that's just how I play. Like, I grew up on old country music and blues and bluegrass. I actually played in a bluegrass band for a while, so it's just really natural for me to play that way. Like, we played in New York, and this guy was like, you do a lot of flat picking and stuff with bluegrass, just because he could tell by the way I play stuff with Wyndrider. I don't know if he just, the way I hold my pick or just the types of scales or motions that I make or whatever. But yeah, bluegrass is definitely a big part of why I play the way I do.
A lot of your chord choices remind me of Mike Scheid from Yob, who also picked up most of his stuff from country and bluegrass. So it's a really interesting style, and it's really emotional. I think another thing I'm curious about is normally with a band today we have Pro Tools, we have all this gear. You guys choose to, like, is it performed live? Did you guys just go into a room and record this?
Essentially, we go in and we all play at the same time. And usually we get the drum tracks from that, and then we'll go back and I'll add like another guitar layer if I want to, or do the solos, which for the most part, I don't really write solos. I just go in and play when we record it. And if it sounds good, then it sounds good. And if it don't, fuck it.
What were you going to say?
Dude, you got to jump in because the drums are the hardest part of this whole thing. No disrespect to the rest of the band, but you are really excellent at keeping like, and it's hard to describe drums, right? It's like, okay, you don't do any of that. You're keeping this groove going so that when Robbie's going off to a solo, and then I think it's the other Josh is just handling the bass progression very tastefully, by the way. It reminds me of Old Mountain with Leslie West and Felix Pappalardi. And then the drums, if you're not hitting it right, the whole song falls apart. Your drumming is amazing. Are you also from a bluegrass?
Yeah, background is bluegrass and country in my family. And also, like Robbie said, he's been in bluegrass bands, and I'll play in country bands and stuff too. So it's a big variety of music that I've grown up to. Not even just country, just like R&B and Motown, everything is played at my house. So I try to keep it simple on that song. Like the mindset for playing on this album was to keep it simple because I am like a heavier metal drummer. Like played all the crazy fast stuff, and in today's time, I feel like drums has become more of a competition of who can be the fastest. So I just wanted to keep it simple and serve the song. But that is one of the more difficult songs to nail down on that album.
For all of us.
Well, yeah, because everything is naked and exposed with Wybdrider. I don't hear a lot of overdubs. I don't hear a lot of, ooh, we need to cut out this 5-second part because it's like you're letting the music be alive and be natural. Hats off to you. That takes balls, as they say. And then the bass playing is just, it's just fucking nasty. That tone that you're getting, Josh. What the hell are you playing, and how the hell are you playing it?
That album was recorded with a Gibson EB3 bass. The big
No way.
mudbucker pickup in the neck and the little humbucker in the back. So I was just using those, and then a pedal board with about 3 or 4 different fuzz pedals all together stacked up. And our producer did a lot of magic with it and got a really gnarly tone out of it. Okay.
Is that going straight into the board, or did you
Oh
use
yeah, I
an
used
amp?
an old PV 400 series bass amp, like from the 70s, just old school stuff. Run,
Yeah, that's what I grew up
I
on.
run it through an 8x10 acoustic cab, so it's a pretty.
One of the
Sound nice.
the old acoustic or the new
It's
acoustic?
old. Yeah, it's a real old one.
Jesus Christ, no wonder it sounds like it was recorded in a back room in 1971.
That's what we were going for.
Yeah,
it by the way, I grew up I'm in my 60s, and when I started out in bands, all I could afford was PV. Every Mooger Fooger around me laughed at me because I had PV. Flash forward to 2024. If you don't have PV, you don't have cred. I've lost count of how many bands I see on their backline. The bass player has PV, or the guitar player, including Queens of the Stone Age. So PV respect, brother.
we love our PVs.
And by the way, your bass playing sounds like it's coming from one of those old Gibson
Yeah.
EVs. It's a great classic song.
Trying to see if I can get everybody in here. We're like the Scooby Gang.
I know, it's like the way
Right
Riverside works. In order for me to get that full control, I have to spend $600 a month. So yeah, I mean, I love you guys, and you're worth every penny, but I just can't afford
We'll
it.
make do.
The next song, and I think you and I, Chloe, we started chatting, and I begged you for the lyrics. It's I gotta find it. Judas. When I was listening to that, it's like, man, I think she's really trying to tell us something. And then I look at the lyrics. This feels like an extremely personal song that you're not necessarily going to want to talk about.
I will say Judas it's actually a song that I have kind of a funny relationship with, because it is heavier than all get out. I love listening to the instrumentation, and then for the vocals and for the lyrics that I wrote, it was really like a song where I was venting. Just the world is fucked up sometimes, and there's been so much crazy stuff, you know. If you open your eyes and you look around, there's been crazy stuff going on for the past few years. Different sections of that song are about different things, I guess, that I just am completely mind blown by and fucked up about. But again, open to your own personal interpretation. And if it's an emotional song for other people too, then I'm doing what I was trying to do.
Can I ask one specific
Sure.
question? Are you the girl sifting through the grit? Is it you? Are you a focus, or are you talking, about people?
I think
in
just
general?
people in general, people who are not being given the things that they need right now. And there's a lot of groups and people, especially women at the moment, that are not getting the resources and the help that they need, and in really difficult lives that they're leading. So it's not about me. It's just about some little girl out there that I know is going through that experience.
That's even a better answer than if it was you. I love that. So you're kind of a, I wouldn't say a political band, but you're a cultural band. So you're commenting on culture. Do you get any pushback from your local folks, or does it go over their heads, or how does that work?
I don't feel like we've gotten really any pushback. I think that our scene here for alternative music is really strong. So, if we were to go and try and play a festival in the middle of the street, we might piss off several people. But the things we do and the places we play, everyone, is accepting. Or maybe they're not diving deep into it and they're just doing it for the jams and the grooves, and that's perfectly fucking fine too.
Well, that's the cool thing about your music, right? On the one level, we can just put this on and have a Southern Fried Doom party. It was when I sat back on the headphones and I went, I think she's trying to tell me something. And I love the layer. I love the layer of that. So who are your peeps? Who are you gigging with or touring with, or who are the bands you're hooked up with and making this thing happen?
There's a whole bunch of them.
Yeah. Name some.
Vermilion Whiskey's one we played quite a few shows with.
From Louisiana.
Definitely homies for life after that. Faerie Ring, we played a few shows with them.
Win. I love Faerie Ring.
Those guys fucking rip.
They are like the cool. I remember I was trying to get in touch with them, and their label told me they're out delivering pizzas. They still had their like day jobs. I need to hear more about Faerie Ring. What was that pairing like?
Intense. They are some of the coolest people and chillest people to talk to, and then they get up on stage and absolutely tear you a new asshole. And
they are in nonstop motion for 45 minutes.
Yeah.
It never stops.
It's an incredible show. If you ever get the chance to catch Faerie Ring live, it's 100% something I would recommend. And we played with them literally just last week in Indianapolis, but we're playing with them again in August at Seismic Summer Fest in Charlotte, North Carolina. It's sponsored by Does It Doom. It's going to be like a whole big thing at the Milestone Club, and they're on it, and I'm stoked to play with them again.
Yeah, my good friends from Brian from Doomsday Prophet is getting on my ass to go to Seismic. Like, we live like 2 hours from Charlotte. Yeah, I don't know that I can make it, but you, Faerie Ring, Doomsday, I don't know, man. I might have to talk to Julie and see if we can change our plans a little bit. That's a monster.
The entire
line.
lineup is completely stacked. That's what I was going to say. The headliners, Restless Spirit and Satan Satyrs, that's just awesome that we're even going to be on the same bill with them, And then everyone else on that bill at this point is people we've played with in the past or we're super familiar with or homies of ours.
Tennessee homies in God size.
Yeah. And then like just across the mountain over in North Carolina, Mean Green, they fucking rip. Who else is on there? Blood Ritual. I know I'm leaving some out. It's going to be an amazing show. That's one that I'm very excited for sure.
Yeah, no kidding. I love Mean Green. One of my earliest album reviews on YouTube was Mean Green. Absolutely love that band. The other band that I wish were coming down here is called Clean from Michigan. They are tearing it up. Who else are you playing with? Any local folks?
Local folks in our area. Yeah, we don't play a whole lot of local shows anymore, but there's a band called Monocopsis who we've played with several times. Used to be called Ent. That it's a 3-piece sludge band from our area here in Johnson City. They are phenomenal. We do a lot of shows with our Eastern Kentucky gang, as I like to call them, Buzzhound, Season of the Witch, Appalachian, all complete powerhouse bands that we try to get together with as much as we can. Storm Toker, also from Kentucky. We've got a bunch of Knoxville, Tennessee, bands that we like to jam with a lot. Sun Mantra, Realm. Who else am I?
Son of the Sorcerer.
Sign of the Sorcerer. Yeah. Like I said, Eastern Tennessee bands and Eastern Kentucky bands, there's a very strong scene here, and all of those are worth a listen any day of the week.
What is it? 'Cause, I mean, you're obviously right? I can go to Trip to Tennessee by Weedian. I think he has Trip to Kentucky. Why is that scene so hot and hard and heavy with the stoner sludge doom bands? I never expected this. I got to be honest.
It's the
What
new
is-
weed that we've been getting in the mountains. It's just pissing everybody off. We're getting all these good strands from out west. Nobody knows what to do with it because we all grew up on brickweed.
It's down.
I love that answer. But seriously, you guys are there, and I'm curious, why this kind of music? Why now? And it does the local God, listen to me, but do the local people like really relate to it? What kind of crowds are you bringing in?
That's an interesting question. There's definitely enough people that want to come out to the shows for us to keep doing it. That's for sure. I don't know. I think maybe even going back to this whole theme of location, again, being in this area, a lot of things are oppressive. You're up in the mountains. Some of the bands that we mentioned, they're from, tiny towns where there's not too much going on, and it probably gives you enough time to sit around and think about all the crazy stuff. And it really, obviously some really heavy music comes out of it. So it's not too weird to me that somehow the math adds up there.
That's amazing. Okay, I'm going to put everybody on the spot. Starting with Robbie. What's your favorite song on the album?
Motorcycle Witches.
Why that one? It's rock.
groovy
That's
as
a
fuck,
burner.
man. I like to get down. I like to party.
That is probably as close to a party tune as you have on this. That is a great choice. Chloe, what's your favorite?
That's like telling me to pick a child. I really, really like Remember the Sabbath because it's so different from the other ones. Just the construct of it. And then, of course, we're paying homage to one of the greatest bands that started this scene of all time, Black Sabbath. So, but it's an especially interesting song to perform and, get people's reactions and stuff too.
Josh, what you got?
I'm gonna say it varies, but right now, probably under the influence right now. That could change, but because it has already, it's already changed from one to the other. But right now, it's probably under the influence.
Why? Any particular reason? Is it
Yeah,
the
it's
groove?
definitely
Is
the
it
groove.
the little breakdowns and changes you guys throw in there like it's nothing?
Yeah, and that's the one that's most stuck in my head too. So just feel like that's probably my most favorite since it comes up in my head.
And the legendary bass man, what you
say
got?
probably Fork Tongue Revival is my favorite off the album. It's the most
Yeah.
fun. It's the most
Yeah.
challenging to play, but at the same time, the most fun.
I gotta agree with you. I think right now it's Fork Tongued Revival, but I'm more like Josh. Like my favorite changes, it's that chorus, Chloe. It is so intelligently written and smartly constructed, so that I can be grooving along with it, and then I hear that very simple chorus, and it's almost like telling me, listen a little bit deeper to this. And I just think it's incredible writing. It's really good musicianship, and like I said, you guys have balls. There's not a lot of overdubs. I don't hear a lot of Pro Tools. You definitely did not quantize the drums, thank God. The bass sounds. Yeah, it's like you guys all of a sudden came up with that all natural strain of cannabis from the West Coast and just lit the place up.
And I do want to give a shout out also to the woman who mixed and mastered and everything for Revival. She also did the Wyndrider album, Danielle Fair of the Wizard Productions. She is a wizard. I don't know what else to say about that. a lot of the rawness and naturalness that we really want to capture with our albums. She is right there with the same vision, and we really couldn't work with anyone better. So she's the best, and if you're in our area considering studio work, it's her that you should consider.
Great shout out, great everything. What's next? Like, have you already figured out your next album, or are you just focused on touring
we're
this
always writing new
We're
songs.
halfway there.
Yeah.
If you put these guys in a room together for 20 minutes, not an exaggeration, they have already written basically an entire new song. Sometimes it's stressful and puts a lot on my plate. But I think that we won't be slowing down on albums necessarily anytime soon, but we are definitely just giving this one some room. We have a whole lot of shows coming up. Several coming up in the month of July, and then we've got our August dates announced right now as well, and we've got more that haven't been announced for September and onwards. So if you have us on social media, things like that, we're posting show flyers constantly. We're probably going to be busy with that for quite a while.
Yeah, I know. I swear I spend half my time sharing your updates on Facebook and Insta, which is awesome. By the way, I got to give you guys credit for that too. You might have one of the top 5 social media presences of any band that's out there.
That's awesome.
You've done, really, Chloe, you've done a great job. Every day that I go on, I'm getting something either on Facebook or Instagram. And then I give my little thumbs up, and try to share it. Is that the key to your success? Because I what I'm hearing and seeing, you're successful. You put a lot of work into self-promotion. Is that one of the keys? What a horrible question. I feel like Barbara Walters now. But seriously, where did you learn how to do social media? You know what I'm asking.
It's a funny question because I feel like I don't know what I'm doing, and I have never been good at social media. I am the one that runs our social media for the band, but I think that if you are completely neurotic and you post so much that people can't ignore you, then that's probably a strategy. But yeah, I think even from the start of this band, we have just tried to be present, whether that's playing a ton of shows, being online a lot. We didn't even put our full first album on all of the music platform sites. We reserved the first full album for Bandcamp only, with only select songs other places. But at the same time, we were posting constantly online. We were playing as much as we possibly could and touring as much as we possibly could, to make sure that people were curious, I guess, enough to go and find our music. It's been interesting. We really just kind of are making it up as we go along.
That may be, but you're doing really well. Now, the Bandcamp strategy, you're the first band that I've heard execute the strategy that way, and it seems to work.
It seems like it worked for us. This new album is definitely out everywhere, and we have Electric Valley Records pushing behind us as well. So we do have a PR team this time. It's not all self-promotion. They are incredible, and they have been an incredible help. It's K-Bar PR that we're using. I think that the strategy now of just making sure our music is out everywhere. It was all mysterious and reserved on Bandcamp before, and now it's just everywhere you look, hopefully you're seeing it. So we kind of did a little flip-flop, but I feel like it's cool.
How long have you been with Electric Valley?
Just for this album. We signed with them
March, maybe April.
Maybe April. Yeah. And they are incredible. Marco has been a huge help. The vinyls that we're getting for Revival, they're still on the way right now, actually, but they look phenomenal. And then, like I said, K-Bar PR is who he's hired to do PR for Electric Valley Records. And Zoheb, our representative from there, is just the coolest guy ever. He literally the other day we were playing a show in New York City, and he had one of his friends who does amazing photography for a lot of different bands and festivals. Aeon Sarker. I'm so sorry if I said that wrong. But he came out and took some of the coolest photos during our set just because he knew Zoheb from, back when kind of thing. And they were in contact. And he's like, hey, one of my bands is in New York. And he came and met up with us. So it's just been fun, like cool stuff. It's cool that sometimes the world feels more small and tight knit in the music scene. Like everything's connected.